Let's hopefully all agree on a few things before we begin. The murder of Charlie Kirk was a tragedy, and all that political violence of any kind is a virus that threatens the very health of a democracy. In times of tragedy or national uncertainty, we the people look to our leaders for calm. We look to our presidents for reassurance that if we'll make it through the crisis as the United States, that our strength is the collective of America, and that more binds us together than separates us. Now, as an example, just listen to two recent presidents, very different politically, facing very different challenges, but nonetheless embracing unity.
This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world.
Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. The spin masters, the negative ad peddlers, who embrace the politics of anything goes. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America.
This instinct to bridge divides has historically crossed party lines. And in fact, it was the governor of Utah, a Republican, Spencer Cox, who made an impassioned plea in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination that a choice lies before us.
We have a reminder that we can choose a different path. Your generation has an opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Not by pretending differences don't matter, but by embracing our differences and having those hard conversations. But every single one of us gets to choose right now if this is a turning point for us. We get to make decisions. We have our agency. And I desperately call on every American, Republican, Democrat, liberal, progressive, conservative, MAGA, all of us to please, please, please follow what Charlie taught me.
But soon after the governor's impassioned plea you just saw for unity, he got a call from the president. The call was not, as you'd expect, to praise his grace in the face of grief or his instinct in bringing us together or his effort to turn the temperature down. No, Donald J. Trump told the Utah governor that he was mistaken to reach out to all Americans, that there were good and bad, and the distinction was clearly drawn along party lines. When a Fox News anchor in a subsequent interview later pointed out to the president that, in fact, political violence had been perpetrated by extremes from both sides, even then, Trump refused to accept reality.
How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy.
Every president in my lifetime, until the current occupant, believed that he worked for the American people. We, the taxpayers, are the boss. Every president understood that he represented all 50 states, not just the ones that voted for him. Those basic civic understandings do not, though, apply to Trump. He doesn't even pretend to want national unity, declaring the biggest threat to the United States as a candidate the, quote, enemy from within. To Trump, democracy is synonymous with fealty. If you're a lawmaker who disagrees with him, a university who opposes his policies, a law firm who represented his critics, even members of his own party who saw things differently, you'd be subject to retribution. Troops are suddenly in American cities that didn't vote for him. Federal relief for a natural disaster may be conditioned on how that state voted last November. Since Kirk's death, Trump has said that the political violence in our country is a one-way phenomenon. Now, he of course can point to the attempts on his own life, but in both circumstances, the motive of the shooter seems to be driven for notoriety, not politics. Steve Scalise, the Republican congressman who of course was shot by an ideologue, but wasn't Gabby Giffords also the Democratic congressman from Arizona? What about those two Minnesota Democrats who were recently murdered by a zealot on the other side? How about the Democratic governors in Pennsylvania and Michigan who were the victims of attempted arson and kidnapping by the MAGA fringe? Or of Speaker Pelosi, whose home was broken into, her husband severely beaten by a madman looking to attack her because she opposed Trump? No political violence is acceptable, but most certainly, unfortunately in this country, is a bipartisan affair. The outrage my president voices is not just selective, but it is hypocritical to the extreme. For a man who incited a riot on our Capitol to steal an election that left hundreds of officers hospitalized at the hands of his supporters, only to then part of the entire mob, he has disqualified himself as an agent for justice, let alone national security. I fear Trump will again foment and weaponize outrage, and it'll all be abetted by a compliant GOP who knows better. Our nation will once again face a stress test where our own chief executive will resume the role of agitator-in-chief. I don't know how much more division our country can take.